Season 11 is going strong, and Stormpoint has caused a huge meta shift in both guns and playstyle. But what weapons exactly should you be using to absolutely dominate this rank season? Well, hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8-Second Gaming, and in today's video I'm going to go over all of the top guns you should be looking to incorporate into your gameplay in order to rank up this season. I've been grinding ranked hard this season, hitting masters and now pushing pred, so I've got a little bit of knowledge on what guns to be running. I do want to point out though that this is for ranked on Stormpoint. As you climb higher in the ranks, you need to have guns that offer more to you in fights. I place some low on this list because they just aren't as good on this map or don't offer the same usefulness in ranked. This tier list will be updated as new patches and maps come out, so if you want to stay updated with these, make sure to drop a sub to the channel and ring the bell to be notified when new videos come out. Also, where the guns are on this list in their certain tiers doesn't matter. C tier guns are equal across C tier, B tiers are equal across B tier, and so forth. I know that's not how everyone does it, but it's how I do it and it's how I've always done it, and I find it works. Just wanted to make that clear, so now let's hop into the tier list. Starting off with the care package weapons, I want to give these guys their own category because they're all S tier and it would clutter things up. The Spitfire mows down from a distance, having high mag capacity and low recoil. You can use this to provide so much cover fire for your team or force others into really bad spots with the amount of potential damage you have in one magazine. Next is the Alternator. This gun is amazing in mid to close range fights with its awesome hip fire and low recoil. You can dominate fights and crack so many shields, leaving huge openings for your teammates. The G7 Scout absolutely fries teams from a distance and allows for some insane poking on teams that you want to push or deter from them pushing you. And the Kraber is the Kraber. One shot headshot, and someone's game in one shot. That's all you need to know. This sniper is super broken. So now that we have the care package weapons covered, let's hop into our D tier weapons, and there's only one for this. It's the P2020. The P20 did see some slight damage buffs at the start of the season, and if you have a fast trigger finger like I do, you can put in some work. But other guns outrange this, out DPS it, and outwork it by a mile. Plus, you can only carry a light mag, so it isn't even useful as an attachment carrier. If we see the return of Hammerpoint hop up, then the gun may move up, but we will have to see what Respawn has planned for it. But that does it for D tier. Let's move into C tier. Our C tier weapons are the RE45, Mozambique, Hemlock, and HAVOC. First up, the RE45. This gun does have a decent fire rate and pistol mobility, but it doesn't offer anything at range or have late game viability. You do have the option of carrying a barrel stabilizer, but almost every other gun out DPSs this. And unless you are hitting every single shot while they miss all of theirs, you will be getting sent back to the lobby most of the time. The RE is just a gun you use off drop if you have to, then swap it out as soon as possible. Next up, we have the Mozambique. Seeing some recent buffs, the beak is a lot more viable than it has been. I still prefer having hammer points on it, but with the 6 shots it has now and its pretty reliable 45 damage a shot, the gun does offer a lot more. You can actually use this to hold a shotgun bolt until you find your next desired shotty. Now for the Hemlock. For those that played a few seasons ago, you'll know that this 3-round burst gun was an absolutely insane menace on the battlefield, and you had to be running it or one of your teammates had to be running it. But with the nerfs and other guns getting buffed, it just doesn't seem like it has a spot in the meta. It lacks in range, and in close-up fights it's awful. You're better off just running something else. And the last gun in C tier is the HAVOC. Now, don't get me wrong, the HAVOC can put in some serious work, especially with a turbocharger, but that's the downside. It needs a hop up in order to compete with other ARs. And for people that say they play the HAVOC as an SMG, that's cool, but almost every other SMG is better than it. The HAVOC just feels like it's missing something. Maybe a buff in the future will move it up, but we will have to wait and see. Now, blasting off into B tier, we have the EVA 8, the Bowcheck, the L-Star, the R99, and the Sentinel. The EVA 8 received some nerfs near the start of the season, lowering the pellet damage and fire rate. This has dropped it down from being the best shotgun all the way down to here. It still does offer something in a fight, but not even close to what it used to be. I think for what it's supposed to be, that spammy shotgun for fights, it's in a very good spot. Now next up is the Bow, another gun. Do we call this a gun? I don't know. But it used to be amazing. When it first came out, everyone ran this, but nerfs have dropped it down here. I still think it can do a lot of work, and the headshots from it are no joke. But the main reason I have it down here is because it takes its own ammo. That means if you need to swap mid-fight or near endgame, you have to drop all your arrows and pick up new ammo, leaving you vulnerable and just an easy target. I'm sticking with the theme of guns that were OP and got dropped here with the L-Star. Again, recent nerfs have made other guns just a lot better than this. It still is good and can be good for you, but it really isn't worth picking up over certain guns anymore. If you find success with this gun, then you can continue to run it and probably still be fine, but I do recommend branching out. And now for the R99. I don't get what other people see in this gun. It hasn't been good since like season 6 when it first went into the care package. Most guns beat it in DPS, and its max damage potential doesn't even down a Gibraltar with red armor. That's pretty sad. Until we see some potential DPS increases, the R99 will forever be a C tier gun to me. And the last gun in this tier is the Sentinel. Now again, the Sentinel does put in some work, and the charged headshots from it are amazing. But in storm points with the harsh height differences and all of the weird spots, you can play the fire rate on the Sentinel is what drops it down here. By the time you shoot somebody and do the reload animation, they've probably already gotten to new cover and have healed up. Deadeye's tempo does fix this a little bit, but not enough to make the Sentinel any higher. Now moving on to our A tier weapons, we have the 30-30 repeater, the CAR SMG, the Devotion, the Longbow, the Mastiff, the R301, the Peacekeeper, the Rampage, the Volt, and the Wingman. There are a ton of guns in S tier right now because the meta is extremely viable and incorporative for a lot of different guns. But kicking things off with the 30-30 repeater, Stormpoint has a lot of different sniper lanes and a lot of harsh height differences that a marksman rifle can take advantage of. A charged 30-30 repeater does do a lot of damage, and it has the spam potential to shoot people as they rotate. It does also have shatter caps to help you in close range, but I prefer to run dual shell on this. You should be running a close range gun like an SMG or a shotgun with the 30-30, so the shatter caps just doesn't seem to be as good as the dual shell in my opinion. Next up we have the CAR SMG, the new gun in season 11. This thing is an absolute monster in close range, having the highest DPS of any SMG. Now I want to make that clear, highest DPS, not highest time to kill. But with the ability to run both a heavy or light mag, the versatility of the CAR cannot be underestimated. Being able to choose a wider variety of attachments and ammo makes this thing unbelievably good. It does start to fall off in medium range with the weird recoil it has, but if you are able to get it down, this thing absolutely shreds. Now moving on to the Devotion. The Devotion is where you should be putting your turbocharger. If you have a turbocharger, slap it on the Devotion, it absolutely shreds people. It does use a lot of energy ammo, but with energy being a lot easier to find now, I don't find myself running out of it. If you're running somebody like Rampart, you should be looking to run a Devotion almost every single game. Now the Longbow, I do enjoy using the Longbow a lot this season, but it does feel like it's kind of missing something right now. The headshot multiplier and fire rate are both really good and can lead to some amazing shots. I don't know what it's missing, but it just doesn't feel like it can be S tier right now. But it is a solid A tier gun. Now going into the shotguns, I want to talk about the Mastiff and the Peacekeeper at the same time. They're both on the same level, it's just what do you prefer to use in my opinion. I personally don't find myself hitting as many shots with the Peacekeeper, so I prefer to use the Mastiff. They are both extremely good, and if you're running somebody like Gibraltar, you should be looking to carry one of these two. Having one of these for bubble fights is incredibly crucial. You need to have them to win those fights. Now moving on to the R301, this thing is an absolute laser beam, but where it doesn't make S tier is the damage per bullet. It does kind of fall off in that category, so if you're spraying and praying and only hitting 1 to 2 bullets per mag, it does kind of fall off. It is still a solid weapon, and if you're able to control the very slight recoil it does have, you will be beaming kids left, right, and center. Now next up we have the Rampage, the other LMG in this category. This thing for the people that have the fire rate down is an absolute monster. I personally don't like the fire rate and it really throws me off, but the people that have it down can be so oppressive in fights, especially if you're able to get that thermite charge off. This thing is unbelievably good. And one thing I want to point out, if you have it charged up with a thermite, a lot of people don't know that you can actually shoot doors off with it. So if you get into a fight and somebody's sitting on the other side of the door and you have the thermite charged up with it, just shoot the door off and you'll be able to surprise them and kill them really easily. Now moving into the SMG again, we are talking about the Volt. The Volt has a really good time to kill as well as a lot of damage per bullet. A lot of people don't like the fire rate on it because it seems slow for an SMG, but with the amount of damage you're actually able to pump out per bullet, it doesn't really affect it at all. If you are trying to run the HAVOC as an SMG, I suggest you run the Volt instead. It's just miles better in my opinion. And the Volt has a really good and easy to control recoil pattern, making it extremely viable in close range and in those mid to long range fights also. If you're able to control it with a 2x on it, you can do some serious damage in all ranges. And the last gun in A tier is the Wingman. The Wingman in my opinion is the highest risk, highest reward gun in the game. People that are really good with the Wingman will always be really good, but if you aren't able to hit those shots, you are losing a lot of fights for your team. Some guns like LMGs and ARs are able to spray and pray and miss shots and still do work for the team, but the Wingman, you have to be hitting those crucial headshots every now and then. If you aren't able to do that, go to the firing range and look to practice, or just drop the gun altogether. But now let's talk about the S tier guns, the ones that you want to run if you are trying to look to absolutely dominate for your team. And these guns are the Charge Rifle, Triple Take, Prowler, and Flatline. Starting off with the Charge charge rifle. This thing is a point and click gun. You don't have to worry about bullet drop. All you have to do is be able to track your target. It is the best sniper rifle on Stormpoint, being able to mow down teams all together. If your team happens to be running 2 charge rifles, you can team shot for some serious damage and get really easy KP off this. If you're not looking to take a sniper rifle though, and you still want to be able to do those long range pokes, look no further than the triple take. Even with the nerfs that came in at the start of the season, the triple take is still really good, having a pretty good fire rate and a lot of damage that it can pump out, especially at long range and even doubling as a shotgun in close range. The triple take is just really good all around. The only downside to the triple take is if you're able to hit 1 pellet while someone's sniping at you, because you will lose those fights every single time. In order to win poke battles, you have to wait for it to be fully charged up and hit all 3 pellets. But now let's talk about the best SMG in the game, the Prowler. The Prowler is an absolute monster, and this thing should always be run if you are trying to run an SMG. Being able to absolutely shred somebody by 2 bursts of them should not be overlooked. Though I get it, burst guns are weird, and it took me a while to get back into the swing of things with the burst guns, but once I did, this was a huge asset in helping me climb to Masters this season. Through my time in Diamond 1 and Diamond 2, I was always trying to run a Prowler when I could. This in close range fights absolutely dominates. And if you don't want to run a shotgun and you want to have that close range ability, you should look to run the Prowler. But now the last gun on the list, the Flatline. This is the AR that you should be looking to run if you are trying to run an assault rifle. Now a lot of people put the Flatline and the R301 on the same tier, but the Flatline has that higher bullet damage. The only time the Flatline really has a weakness is in longer range fights because of the insane recoil. But if you're able to go into the firing range and get that recoil pattern down, or jitter aim to circumvent that, then the Flatline is an absolute beast. There you guys have it though, the Season 11 weapons tier list for Split 1 on Stormpoint. A lot of time and effort went into all of these because I had to play and use each gun in high tier ranks and see what I thought of them. So if you guys have made it this far and haven't yet, please drop a big ol' thumbs up on the video. It really does help the channel. And once again, if you guys want to be updated with these tier lists as soon as they come out, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified when we post, because we post daily highly educational Apex Legends content aimed at making you the best player you could possibly be, so you won't want to miss any of these videos. I really appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming, and I will see you in the next one.